Movie friends, welcome back to the channel. Doing another Dead Meat video. This is going to be for his ranking of all the Chucky Child's Play films. I'm very excited to see what he thinks about, not really thinks, but how he's going to rank these. I'll tell you my ranking first, just to give you an idea. Let's see how different his is. My number 1 would be Child's Play 2. My number 2 would be Child's Play 1. My number 3 would be the remake of Child's Play. Number 4 is Curse of Chucky. Number 5 is Child's Play 3. Number 6 is Bride of Chucky. Number 7 is Cult of Chucky. And number 8 is Seed of Chucky. So that's how I would rank mine. And I will keep my listings probably right above the screen, so you guys can, or like right down here somewhere, so you guys can see my ranking, and we'll see how different his is to mine. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive into Dead Meat's ranking video for the Child's Play Chucky movies. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Welcome to Dead Meat, the horror channel where you can get a big serving of your favorite films with a side order of snarky commentary. I'm James A. Janice, and today I'm going to be ranking the 7 Child's Play / Chucky movies from worst to best. The usual caveats apply here. Firstly, these are just my opinions, and it's fine if you have different ones. We don't have to duke it out.
He won't have the remake in this, by the way.
Secondly, my criteria for judging these movies include how well it's made, like the writing, directing, acting, etc., how much it tries to be something, how much it succeeds in what it's trying to be, how fun or entertaining it is to watch, and of course, those sweet little Chucky kills. And as always, I'll try to say what I like about all the movies, even the ones I rank low. You've heard this all before. Let's get to the rankings.
Let's do it. See, we got last place.
Number 7.
It's Seed.
Ranking at the bottom of the Child's Play movies for me is Child's Play 3. By now you should know that I enjoy novelty. I like to see different things, and I'm more willing to forgive a movie's faults if it at least tries to do something new. Child's Play 3 tries
blew my
nothing
mind.
new. It takes the same exact format
away.
of the first 2 films and puts it in a military school setting, which I find painfully uninteresting. I've seen all these beats before in 1,000 war movies. I don't need to see them again in a Chucky film. It doesn't help when every character there is just a total stereotype, especially douchey drill instructor Shelton. Hell, they even quote the movie as caricature is lifted from.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for shooting, and this is for fun.
Yeah, real cool, bro. Sorry, but this 15-year-old looking jackass doesn't exactly convey the same threatening manner as R. Lee Ermey. This is also the movie where they really up the number of Chucky one-liners.
Don't
fuck with the Chuck. It's classic.
What they say, you just can't keep the good guy down.
But I feel like a lot of them are forced and not funny.
Tampering with the mail is a federal offense.
Presto, you dead.
And while having Chucky accidentally scare someone to death
good.
is a funny idea that I thoroughly enjoyed, most of the other kills don't really do anything for me, and definitely don't stand out among the series. The movie's not all bad. The opening scene where Chucky kills the toy company executive after scaring him with a bunch of toys
I like that
is pretty good. The barber Sergeant Botnick is an insane fucking character, but actor Andrew Robinson, friggin' Larry Cotton from Hellraiser, sells the hell out of the performance. He's having a great time. I like Perry Reeves as Andy's love interest De Silva, and the final act in the Carnival Haunted House ride is somewhat interesting, even though that thing's unreasonably huge for a pop-up carnival. Overall, this movie just doesn't bring anything new to the table, and it feels like it was completely phoned in, which isn't a surprise given that it went from concept to release in less than a year. Don't rush your production, folks. Number 6. At number 6 is Seed of Chucky, which I'm sure most people would put dead last. I don't blame him. After Bride of Chucky turned the series onto a more outwardly comedic path, Seed cut the brake line and floored the friggin' pedal. In this, the directorial debut of Don Mancini, who wrote every Chucky movie, there's not a single moment that you can take seriously. Like, hey, maybe you can have some real sympathetic moments in Chucky's confused offspring Glenn because, oh, no, wait, he's pissing his pants all over the place and getting yelled at by a little British girl for doing so.
You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants!
It might be okay if the movie was actually hilarious, but so much of the humor doesn't work. Whether it's injecting a frickin' Britney Spears lookalike in the movie and having Chucky kill her off, while driving, by the way, like that makes any goddamn sense, or making Chucky, the killer doll that gave so many people nightmares in the late 80s, jerk off into a plastic cup so his doll wife can use an oozing turkey baster to impregnate Jennifer Tilly with his sperm. Oh, and speaking of his doll wife, she shows her doll tits. What the fuck, man? And I don't care what you say, the ending doesn't make sense. If Tiffany successfully transferred her soul to Jennifer Tilly's body before Chucky axed the doll in the head, why does she lie there giving Glenn words of comfort as she dies? Is that Jennifer Tilly saying those things? Is Tiffany in both the dying doll and Tilly's body? There's no satisfying way to explain it, so don't even try. Oh, and also, this movie is UGLY. It don't look like no good guy, it's ugly. Yeah. A lot of shots feature a fake Los Angeles exterior that was added during post-production to shots filmed in Romania, which makes everything look super fake and direct to DVD,
There's nothing really good about
this movie. This was the last Chucky movie that did get a theatrical release. And it's a shame shame that the bad parts to this movie are so bad, because there are a decent number of good things to it. I actually do like Glenn, maybe because of Billy Boyd's sweet little innocent voice performance. And I like that this movie explores gender issues. That's a new and interesting thing to see in a horror movie, especially one made 14 years ago. Seeing Jennifer Tilly play a campy version of herself is great, and the scenes and meta jokes about how her voice and Tiffany's sound the same are pretty funny.
But that voice!
She sounds just like an angel.
John Waters is fun to have around, and at least the movie goes hardcore with the gore, even if it's debatable whether or not it looks good. Overall, Seed is a movie where Don Mancini took a chance and it didn't pay off. Thankfully, he didn't let it stop.
It's bad.
Because the movies he made after this one were a lot better.
I agree.
Number 5.
That's a good
and
point.
Number 5
it's just
is
a
the
bad
Chucky
movie.
film I watched
Terrible.
the most as a kid, Bride of Chucky. This was Mancini's reaction to the late 90s meta horror craze kicked off by Scream. Bride features both visual references to other
Michael
popular
Myers,
horror franchises,
Jason
Why does
references.
that look so familiar?
Pinhead.
as well as outright self-awareness of its own.
It's a long story. In fact, if it was a movie, it would take 3 or 4 sequels just to do it justice.
It can be a little much sometimes, but it's a refreshing change of pace after the first 3 films stuck
I like
so
the movie.
closely to the
I
same
watched it not too
story
long
and
ago,
tone.
actually.
And I do think a lot of the humor works.
Rude fucking doll.
It's the first introduction of Jennifer Tilly to the series, playing Chucky's
The best I
ex-girlfriend
think she's
Tiffany
been
Valentine, and
was
she
Bride
is
of Chucky.
everything the franchise needs. She gets to be a total sex pot and super funny, both things that Jennifer Tilly excels at, even though I would prefer more time with her as a human rather than just voicing the Tiffany doll. You even get a little splash of John Ritter in there, and I will never complain about having John Ritter on my screen. But holy shit, does the storyline featuring teenage lovers on the run, Jesse and Jade, sink this ship like an iceberg. Jesse and Jade are probably the most unlikable characters in the entire franchise, which is really saying something when you think of the spiteful family lurking around the mansion in Curse. But at least that movie knows we don't like those asshats. In Bride, we're supposed to be rooting for these dumbass teens who are constantly accusing each other of straight up murder,
I think you're fucking crazy.
and yet are still down to make up and get married. These two don't need
It's
counseling,
just
they need
stupid, yeah.
restraining orders. The kills are all pretty solid. I don't have any complaints.
Pretty good
there,
one right
though.
there, yeah.
I could take or leave Chucky's
yeah, the
redesign,
lip.
which seems a bit like it's trying too hard to make him scary. And while I can appreciate the fact that this movie took a risk and had a dull sex scene, after watching it, I'm not sure I really needed that image seared into my brain.
No, it was done for
Overall,
comedy
Bride
reasons,
is an uneven movie. On the one hand, a nice injection of life into a series that had grown stale, and on the other hand, a film featuring kids so stupid it should make anyone pause and rethink having children. Number 4. My number 4 Child's Play is Curse of Chucky. Released 9 years after Seed, the biggest
I'm gonna
gap
guess his
between any
next
two
one
movies
is
of the
probably.
series. I guess
I'm not sure if
Mancini had
Cult
to
came
really
out.
air out the franchise.
It might have
at
came
the
out
best
at that
stage.
point.
I really like Curse
Be
of
shocked
Chucky.
if Cult
It's a
is
dark
on
gothic
over
movie
Curse.
with an awesome score that returns the series to what made it good in the
Love
first
the
place.
doll
A
look
possessed
right there.
doll sneaking around, killing people, and not revealing himself until a little later, then letting all hell break loose when he does. I'm also 100% okay with Chucky's redesign. I think it's a nice change from his stitched up look. And hey, they even show that he still has those scars underneath some cover.
I love
This
that.
movie
I
is our
love that
introduction to
reveal.
Deka Pierce, played by Brad Dourif's daughter, Fiona Dourif. And she's the
Fantastic.
best addition to the series
Yeah.
since Jennifer Tilly, a strong and capable protagonist who is never defined, only informed by the fact that she's in a wheelchair. Sure, the family members around her are despicable people who cheat
the
and
priest
spy on one
death,
another
man.
for financial gain and custody battles, but that makes it all the more satisfying to watch them get killed. And speaking of kills, these are great. Curse is the goriest in the series up to this point, just letting itself get nasty with the blood and dismemberments. And holy crap, did Mancini's direction improve from Seed. Way to better yourself, dude. I also love that while it's a complete
I'm
tonal
hoping there's
shift
some
from
Curse
Seed to
vibes
Bride,
in the
still
new show,
maintains
too.
the continuity of the series, acknowledging Charles Lee Ray's initiation incantation, the fact that Tiffany is still out there in Jennifer Tilly's body, and of course, bringing the OG Andy back with Alex Vincent in a post-credits scene that perfectly sets up the next movie.
Play with this.
Andy!
The only thing I really don't
Play
like
with
about this
this.
movie is that the backstory it tells doesn't jive completely with what we already know. Flashbacks show Charles Lee Ray as a creepy kidnapper instead of just your run-of-the-mill serial killer. And
Yeah,
apparently
that
the
was a
police
bit
were
weird.
raiding his house when he wound up in the chase scene that kicked off the first movie. That doesn't make sense, because in the original, he had Eddie Caputo waiting with a getaway car. So, like, what was he getting away from? Whatever.
Yeah,
Everything
no
else works
kidding.
for me, and overall, I think Curse single-handedly saved
There's
the
some
franchise
stuff that makes
and
no
gave
sense,
me an
yeah.
all-new respect for the artistic growth of Don Mancini. Number 3.
Loved the doll in that movie.
Coming in at number 3 is last year's
Wow.
Cult of Chucky, and I'm completely willing to admit that its high placement may be at least partially due to recency bias. But I found Cult to be a nice culmination of everything this franchise has been so far. It brought together every character and storyline that the
can't
movies have
really
featured.
agree with
Mine is
that.
Glenn, who had the misfortune of being in the one movie it looks like they're trying to forget, and it also perfectly combines the psychological horror of the first movie, since we don't know what the deal is with all the different Chucky dolls, the gore of Curse presented in an even more explicit way, and the humor that's been a growing presence throughout the franchise.
That was a cool
Seriously,
moment.
Try telling
Andy
me
and
the
him.
Chuckies aren't hilarious when they're hanging out. I'll call you a goddamn liar.
I never felt so alive. Yeah, well, you've been alive for like 2 minutes.
It's also aggressively confident.
I can't agree with that. Sorry, bud.
With blinding white walls everywhere in the hospital.
I respect the
make
opinion.
viewer feel
I
as
can't agree with Colt
politically
being that
constrained as
high.
The characters. While some
wouldn't
people
put it
said
that
they
high.
wanted more Andy Barclay, I was happy that Nika in her captivity took up the lion's share of screen time. With Andy
So far,
popping
I'm
up
not
every
really
once
sure if
in a
we've had
while to
any in
set the
common
stage
yet.
For the film's finale. It is the finale that leaves a little to be desired, though. I understand wanting to set something up for the next movie, and I'm excited as all hell to see where this thing goes. But it does feel like a bit of cheating to have it end with so many cliffhangers and so little resolution. It felt more like the first part to one really banging movie instead of a completed film by itself. Still,
Andy was
between
so
the multiple
wasted.
Chuckies running around, the goriest deaths in the entire series, and getting to watch Fiona Dorff stretch her acting chops as both Nika and a Nika possessed by Charles Lee Ray, I had an absolute blast watching this movie, and I think Don Mancini
She was
can call
good in
the
it,
strongest
you know.
directorial work yet. Overall,
was
this was
crazy,
a hell of
that
a good
death.
time at the movies, even if it didn't feel completely cooked through in the end. Number
I didn't
2.
like it. Sorry.
In second
Child's Play,
place is the
yep,
original
I figured.
Child's Play. And boy, was
Child's
that
Play
a
2.
hard
We have the
decision
same
for
number
me to
one,
make.
also.
I freaking love both the first two films, and which one I prefer bounces back and forth in my mind. But for this list, I'm gonna give the original the silver. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this movie. I really like its slow burn mystery feel, with Chucky not coming out as truly alive to the other characters.
I love it.
until
I love the
halfway
first
through
movie.
And sure, only the first kill has even a smidge of ambiguity over whether the perpetrator was Chucky or Andy. But watching Karen and Mike Norris discover the truth
was
for
Chucky,
themselves
obviously.
is good stuff, even if we know what's going on the whole time. Mostly because Catherine Hicks and Chris Sarandon are so good. That scene where Karen finds the batteries missing
So
from Chucky's
obviously
back,
the
so
doll.
well done. And in the second half of the movie, when the Chuck's out of the bag, we're treated to astounding animatronics.
What do you think?
Watching
good
this,
shit.
it's still hard to believe how they made that bastard move and talk so realistically, especially back in 1988. That's probably
Some
what
good
made
stuff.
this movie so notorious. It didn't cheat the audience by using only super close-up shots and cutting away anytime the doll was supposed to be moving. It showed you a doll moving around like it really was possessed, all without using anything computer generated. And of course, we have the reigning champion
Ah.
in all professional cute
Love
kid
it.
competitions, 6-year-old Alex Vincent, who spends the movie stuttering out his lines
He told me never to tell about him or he'd kill me.
and just being all kinds of adorable. He's the perfect
he's adorable kid,
protagonist
man.
for the audience to attach itself to and root for.
I did not
especially in
want
that
this kid to
last
die.
act when the kid is fighting for his life on his own. I do think the movie goes a bit overboard with all the times that Chucky appears to be dead but then comes back, but each one grows in how unsettling it is, ending
makes
with
sense to
one
me,
hell
though.
of a creepy image as he's finally
Because,
put
you know,
down
you
for
wouldn't
good.
expect the doll to be
I'm
alive, so when it kept
Chucky.
coming to life, it was
Wanna
funny.
Overall,
Yeah.
the first Child's Play is a perfect execution of
Classic.
an original idea that resonates with multiple generations of moviegoers. It is a classic movie in every sense of the word.
100% agree.
Number 1. And yet, my number 1 spot goes
Child's
to the
Play
sequel,
2.
Child's
I wonder
Play
where he would
2.
put the
Again,
remake.
They're essentially
Kinda
tied
curious.
for me. But the second film benefits from having Chucky get down to business right off the bat. There's no waiting for that big reveal. We get to see him up to no good straight
just-
from the start. There's
and
more
he's the
humor
best
than
in
the
this
first
movie.
movie, but they don't go overboard with it. And Chucky's chill-ass deliveries make me laugh way more than the campy stuff that would come later.
Yeah.
How's it hanging, Phil?
What's your name,
Well,
buddy?
Awesome.
Chucky.
I also love that this movie explores the foster system and the foster sibling relationship between Andy and Kyle, something I don't think I've seen in any other movie, regardless
Yeah,
of the genre.
best characters in the
animatronics
franchise.
for Chucky are even better than in the first movie, and Andy continues to be a reliably resourceful protagonist, even though he's still just a little kid. Dude took a carving knife to the basement in the middle of the night because he wanted to take care of business. The kills in Child's Play 2 come at a steady pace and include such iconic moments in the series as Chucky taking a yardstick, and yes,
You've
that's a
been
yardstick,
very
not a
naughty,
ruler,
Miss
you bunch of
Kettlewell.
blockheads, to the cruel Miss Kettlewell, or Xeroxing Grace the social worker in the middle of her death scene. And it's got my single most favorite kill of the franchise. Look, I love the gore and curse and call, but I'm not sure any Chucky kill will ever top the factory worker whose eyes get some good guy upgrades. That image will
crazy,
stick
ow.
with me forever. From the opening credits where we watch Chucky get reconstructed to the Toy Factory final act, the greatest setting for any of these movies to end, Child's Play 2 is a funny, interesting, and perfectly
Climax,
paced
yeah, it
movie
was
about
best one in the
everyone's favorite
franchise.
killer doll. That's why it's my number 1 movie of the Child's Play / Chucky franchise. And that's my
Hell
list.
yeah.
Let me know if you agree or disagree or what your rankings are in the comments. And if you missed any of the Chucky kill counts, hit up the playlist link right over there. Apologies to my Canadian viewers. For whatever reason, Seed of Chucky was blocked in your country. I don't make the rules, man. I'm just bound by them. I love making these franchise ranking videos, so expect more of them in the future. But until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been
All
Dead
right,
Meat.
James. All right. Well, we certainly didn't agree on the list. I'll tell you that right now. He had it like his last place was Child's Play 3, which is my number 5. So his was at last. So there were 7 movies. He didn't include the remake because that wasn't made at the time. So it was Child's Play 3, Seed of Chucky. Then he had Bride of Chucky. Was it he might have, then he had Curse of Chucky, and then he had Cult of Chucky, then he had Child's Play and Child's Play 2. So I didn't agree with the Seed being over Child's Play 3. I think Seed is just so, and for the most part, he was almost bashing the entire movie the whole time, so it was kind of confusing why he was putting it so high. He was bashing the movie. Didn't really list too many things that he liked. He liked Glenn. He did say that. He liked Jennifer. He liked some of the humor that hits in some places. But overall, it was a big botched film. He said about Child's Play 3, he didn't like the whole military thing, which is fine. That's understandable. I respect his opinions. He has his opinions. But his top two were exactly like mine. So, I mean, that's that. I mean, the list was obviously way different than mine after 2, and everything was just scattered and different. And Colt and Seed were just two of the worst Chucky films I've ever seen in my life, and I don't like them really much at all. I did like Glenn. I thought that was very cool that he said he liked Glenn, because I actually do like Glenn too. I thought he was a cool character, but he was just given a shitty movie. So, I mean, overall, I respect his list. Again, with kind of like with Friday the 13th, I respect it. He has his own opinion. Obviously, he has his own specific taste. I can respect that. Very different than mine, which is kind of cool. So, guys, like, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. If you want me to do more of Dead Meat videos, please recommend them down below. Hit the like button if you want more of this kind of content. Until next time, movie friends, keep it retro, and I will catch you guys out in the next video. Take care.